Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni mule wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Andrea Coke. She'll be here to celebrate her beautiful book, Molly Morningstar, A Doll for Me. Before we invite Andrea into the studio, we want to let you know we have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read, Brielle's Birthday Ball by Stella Mongodi. It's our latest certified great read, and it proves that reading doesn't have to be a quiet, couch-centered activity. It's a perfect book for high-energy kids because they give your little ones a chance to move and burn energy while you read. In Brielle's Birthday Ball, we are introduced to a 7-year-old girl, Brielle. She's too excited to fall asleep. She's imagining what her big day is going to be like. She's disturbed by some bizarre sounds she hears right outside her room at like 2 o'clock in the morning. When she goes to examine, nobody is there except for a gift that has been left. Inside the case is a mysterious birthday ball that takes her on a fun and magical adventure. The ball drove Brielle to the moon where a lavish birthday party had been arranged for her. Meeting the well-known man on the moon, Brielle was exceptionally energized as she danced and enjoyed tasty treats such as cupcakes and chocolate mint seasoned water. This is a fantastic book that you're just going to love, and your kids are going to love, and you're going to love experiencing it together. It's Brielle's Birthday Ball by Stella Mongodi and Once Upon a Dance. It's our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Right now, it's time for us to welcome another Reading with Your Kids certified great read author, the author of Molly Morningstar, A Doll for Me, Andrea Coke. Hey, Andrea, welcome to the Reading with Your Kids podcast.
Thank you so much, Jedley. It's an honor to be here. I am so for anything that has to do with family literacy, so I'm excited to be here today.
Well, I'm really happy that you said that because family literacy, of course, is why we create this podcast. It is so important, and literacy really depends a lot on family.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and
it does.
And there are a lot of kids who are, become literate, become readers on their own without the support of their family. But it is a much easier path to tread, to become literate, to develop a love of reading, to develop a love of learning. That path is much easier when you do it with your family. Absolutely.
Families play such a vital role in terms of just getting kids to learn to love books when they see that there are books in the house, that their parents are reading, and the fun times that happen when parents read with kids or caregivers read with kids, the emotional connection, the intimacy that comes. It's just so much part of a bigger piece of the whole literacy piece, and also social emotional skills and all of those things that kids need to really be successful. So it's really great.
I'm really glad you said that, and we're absolutely going to spend a lot of time speaking about Molly Morningstar. But I just want to grab onto that. Now, I'm just a simple dad who's been doing magic in schools, and so when I created the Reading with Your Kids podcast, I knew there were educational benefits of reading with your kids. I knew reading with your kids helped them learn how to read and probably helped them know different words and stuff. But I created the podcast because I knew that bond was so important, that the fact that I have a great relationship, the fact that me and my wife both have a great relationship with my now adult kids, that relationship started being built with my son when he was still in the womb and I was reading books to him when he was baking inside my wife. And here you are. You're a teacher and a speech pathologist, a language pathologist.
Yeah.
And yes, because I needed a speech pathologist when I was younger. You're a language pathologist, so you know all those educational things, but still the first thing you really highlighted was that bond, that bond between parent, caregiver, and child.
Yes, yeah. That's really where it starts from. All the other sort of spring from having that relationship and having those moments, because we know that there's so many things that are going on in a child's life every day, in a parent's life every day, that you can take away and it's just you, the child in the book, and the story, and all the conversation that comes with that, all the learning, all the, what does this remind you of? And you can talk about your own life and what's happening in your own child's life. So you can't take away from those moments. And from there, your child they're curious to start with. And that just really increases that curiosity to learn more. And by learning, they're reading more books, and then the cycle just continues that way.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that we're probably not going to see an app come out anytime soon that's going to be able to replace the parent in this equation. There are certainly apps that can read to kids and that can, quote unquote, listen to kids read the story back to them. But there's no AI out there that can do that emotional stuff.
No, that really, I think, is, as much as we depend on all of the technology now and we're getting so used to it and things like that, it's just the same way that as adults we're having meetings over by Zoom and different things like that. But there's still a need and a desire for people to be together, for people to be face to face, because there's so much other things that happen in a conversation, just in terms of body language and just reading somebody's behavior and different things like that kids really need and want. And the idea of snuggle up and read is so precious, right? Yeah. And you can't get that from an app.
Yeah. I can't help but think back to the times when I was reading a story with my kids and it moved me, and I had to catch myself before I started to cry. And I remember at the time thinking, oh my goodness, I can't let my kids see me cry right now, and this is emotional. That would be terrible. But I think thinking back, that was probably good. My kids noticed that, and that was probably a good thing that they noticed that. Yes.
That's now we kind of talk about, like, let them see you cry at that.
Yeah.
Why that moves you. And because they need to understand those emotions and those feelings and what that means and how to manage it. And the best way is to see how you're managing it and talk about that. So, so a great storybook is one that really moves both the parent and the child. Yeah, absolutely. And the book that, just to give it a plug, he's a great author. He's not with us anymore, but Tommy DePaula's Clown of God was the book that I always had a hard time getting through. I even have a hard time talking about it sometimes. It was such a wonderful book. Yeah, there's some books that really touch you, and you read them over and over again. And that's not any different than with our kids when they pick up a storybook that they really like. There's something about it that they connect with, something that they relate to, whether it's the character, whether it's the situation or the experience that character is going through. That makes them want to just connect with it again and again. So every time parents say, they want to read the same book, I say, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead and read the same one, because there's something about that they need and they want. So. Well, I know a lot of kids out there are connecting with Molly Morningstar. Tell us about Molly Morningstar, a doll for me. Molly Morningstar, I'm so excited to talk about this. Molly Morningstar is this really fun girl who gets the ultimate in a child's world. She gets an invitation to a birthday party. And so she's really excited to go. And her friend, Emma, says it's going to be a tea party, so bring your best doll. And as Molly starts to go and look for a doll that she can bring, she starts to realize that none of the dolls look like her. And that starts to bother her. And even as she's going in the store and looking at the rows and rows of dolls, none of them resemble her. And but she does what, most kids do in those situations. She figures out a way, if it's not the way I want it, I'm going to do something about it and try and make some kind of change in her own little world. So she and her dog Boomer go ahead and try to problem solve that. And I think kids will really relate to Molly because, they're really curious. They're great problem solvers when we give them a chance, right? They know what's fair and what's not fair, and they can figure something out on their own. It really works for them. And I also think that for parents and for educators, it's a really lighthearted way to start to talk about topics like diversity and identity and things like that in a way that sort of gives you an in at whatever level your child is at, so they can have those discussions. So yeah. I'm really excited about it. It's the first in a series, and yeah.
Now, what age group is the book for?
The book is for 3 to 8, ages 3 to 8. And like I said, even though there are some topics that are, they're heavy topics, but we know that they're actually not really heavy topics for our kids, because kids are really aware of a lot of different things that are happening in the world. They're really aware of differences. And we really want to make sure that we're celebrating differences, and we're not making it a taboo subject for them, but that they can see that be different, and we can celebrate that, and we can be happy about it. And when it doesn't look like that's happening, we can do something about it.
Yeah. I love the fact that this book, can facilitate those conversations. I'm imagining it could be a fun way to kind of take this out of the home, off the couch, to bring your child, after reading this book, maybe bring your child to a toy store, if they still exist. I don't know.
They do.
Okay. And then just walk down the doll aisle and say, what do you notice?
Yeah.
And yes. I know those aisles are a little bit more diverse than they were when my daughter was growing up, but I'm sure they'll notice the fact that, wow, most of these dolls look alike.
Yeah. I think that the story was actually inspired by that situation with my daughter. And, she wanted a doll and realized, like, we're looking at rows and rows of dolls that didn't speak to her, and she couldn't articulate it at the time of why she wanted a specific doll. It's just like she's looking at them and, scanning them, and no, 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 no. And then, there was one shelf with maybe 1 or 2 dolls that looked like her, and there were no accessories for them. There were no clothes for them. There were none of the pieces that go into having a doll and what that means. So yeah, that would be a really great exercise as somebody is going into a store to realize, what do we see and what don't we see, and how would that make somebody feel, and things like that. So
I think that question can be a really great question to ask kids on a regular basis.
Yes.
What do you see? Great. But what don't you see?
Yes.
I don't think we spend enough time talking about that or thinking about that. And I think that we're talking about helping kids develop different social and emotional skills. I think that can be a really powerful skill for a child to grow up with.
Absolutely. It's really excellent in terms of when we read books, or when I read books with kids, and, whether as a teacher in a classroom, speech, anything like that. And we're always looking at the cover and, giving the student or a child an opportunity to tell me what you think the book is about, right? So we want to do some wondering. What do you think it's about? What do you think who's on the cover? And then as you go through the book, who is missing, who's not? Let's look at our class. Let's look at or like who is not in the book and who is, and things like that. So those are really great questions to have sort of on a regular basis with kids, so that we really start to normalize the idea that this is a really diverse world, and our world needs to be inclusive, whether it's in our classroom or in the playroom or even in the stores that we go into, and start to ask, where are the other toys? Mm-hmm. There's a nice piece sort of near the end of the book. I don't want to give it all away, but in terms of looking, even sort of having a nod to gender stereotypes in terms of doll play and things like that. And, I think it's a great way for us to start to talk about that piece too, about, dolls have been around for years and forever, and they're like but they're a favorite for boys and girls. And, yeah.
It's interesting you say that. It is even today in what people would say is a more progressive world. The idea that young boys are playing with dolls is still it's not really cool.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is that I had dolls when I was growing up, except that I called them action figures. And I know my dad one time, he was kind of mad at me because I didn't pick them up, and he was like, "We have to pick up your dolls," and I'm like, "They're not dolls, they're action figures. I'm a boy. I don't play with dolls." But I mean, really, what a dumb thing. I mean, it's the same. It's this piece of plastic that represents a person. Yes. And you dress it. I mean, my G.I. Joes, he had combat gear and put a helmet on and the different camo and all this other kind of stuff. Same thing as a girl who would be playing with a Barbie. But I was offended when someone said it was a doll.
And there's still a lot of people that think that way, but we are making some really great strides in terms of, I think a lot of stores even now are trying to get away from the girls section and the boys section when it even comes to clothes and things like that, just because, the clothes are available for anyone, really. And so those army fatigues and combat wear can be on the Barbie and doesn't just have to be on the G.I. Joe and things like that. So, so we're making some really great inroads because we're having a lot of conversation about it. And we're starting earlier to talk to kids about it so that it's okay for them. I know that I've been in a lot of classrooms, and there was always sort of a section for the girls and a section for the boys. And we talked about, girls line up, boys line up, and we're trying to move away from that and really having the bin that's open for everybody.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, I am almost old enough to have gone to a school where there was an entrance for boys and an entrance for girls. I think they did away with it like the year before I went to kindergarten. I'm not sure.
Wow.
But there was still the old signs, and it was engraved in the signs. It wasn't just like someone inkjetted it. They took a hammer and they banged that up.
Make sure that, we still see them on some of our buildings, the boys' entrance and the girls' entrance.
Wow. So. What a bizarre thing to think about.
Yeah.
You're a mom. You're a teacher. You're a language pathologist. I said it right that time. You're a pretty busy person. Where did you find time and the inspiration to write Molly Morningstar?
You know what? I am very, very busy, but I've been writing all my life. I love reading and I love writing, and I've always been writing in journals, pieces of paper, anything like that. So the Molly Morningstar series, I had written different parts of it at different times. And every time I write, I sort of date when I wrote that piece so that I can go back and look. And so I probably wrote this book maybe about 8 years ago. And but during this time that we have been locked down, it really, I think one of the things I really thought about was there's so many things that I wanted to do that I feel I've done a lot of them in my life, but one of them was really to get my stories published and get them out there because I want to get them in the hands of families. And I talk a lot in my work about some of the themes that are in my stories. And I really just wanted to have it available for families when I'm doing speech therapy, use stories a lot and use them to talk about for comprehension and for vocabulary and different things like that. So I really wanted to be able to get the stories out. And I worked a little bit on it every night, just sort of chipping away at it, and then finding sort of a community online of other writers who were just starting out, which really helped me a lot, and began to sort of work with them. And we encouraged each other in terms of, the next steps, because I didn't know anything about self-publishing. I didn't even know there was such a thing, really, about the self-publishing world. And so I'm learning. I'm learning and doing a little bit at a time, and I'm pacing myself, and and here we are. And when I look back, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe so much has happened in a year, but I'm excited.
It is really exciting. We're in this amazing, we really are living in an amazing time. And, we talked about how the Gutenberg press changed the world. And we're living in a time right now that's I think even has more potential to change the world, where authors no longer need to get the approval of a corporation to get their ideas and their words out there, where authors are living in a time where they can come together with a lot of effort, with a lot of support, but not a lot of money, get their books published. The books that are being published are amazing. And they're finding homes on hundreds of thousands of family bookshelves. So I'm really excited that you're part of that amazing journey.
Thank you. I'm really excited about that. And it's true that, like I said, I really didn't know about self-publishing before and thought that I had to, find an agent and, you've got to knock on a lot of doors and you might not. Basically, all the information out there was prepare for rejection when it comes to writing a book. But the self-publishing world has really made it an opportunity for stories that would have never been told to be told, with characters that would have never been on the front cover of a book, to find their place there, because it's important, I think, for all kids to see that, to see themselves represented in books and have an opportunity to pick up a series that is about a child that's like them and that they can sort of follow along. So,
absolutely.
So that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the reasons that those shelves were so vanilla for all those years is because a corporation said, "No, we're making enough money doing this. We don't have to change." And there's not enough profit in for us to make that change. And with this new technology that's out there, it's you're able to get out there and write these stories and really change the dial and making a lot of changes in those big corporations. They're starting to listen and say, maybe we should do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, because they're realizing that parents are buying the books, schools are buying it, teachers are, because people want them.
Yep.
They're ready to sort of expand what they have. And so it's a great opportunity. And I'm glad that corporations are starting to sort of take note and see, maybe we should do things a little different, and maybe we need to expand what we're doing and who is making some of the decisions.
Yeah. I just want to go back and remind folks that one of the things that you said at the top of the show was it's really helpful to take our kids places and ask them not only what do you see, but also ask them what they don't see. And I think that's an important lesson. One of the things that I saw on your Instagram, you have a great Instagram, and I'm going to ask you to tell folks where they can go to connect with you. But you had this saying, you recently posted this saying about motherhood. Could you share that with us?
Yes, I posted a post for Mother's Day about motherhood is full of F words. Fun, fabulousness, friendship, there's family. There's so many pieces to it because it's motherhood is complex. I have 4 kids. I have 2 boys and then 2 girls. And I love my kids, but it's always been a journey with them because they're all very different. And with each one, you're learning so much about yourself and learning about how you parent and different things like that. So I think that just a nod to that there are times when it's another F word maybe, and other times when it's all these ones, all the really great, fabulous F words that are out there.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. It's all part of that.
Yeah. Well, why don't we
my Instagram?
Why don't we let folks know where they can find that?
On Instagram, I'm at AB Book Nook. And my website, it's www.abcbooknook.com. And all the information about my books will be on there.
That's wonderful. We really want to encourage you. Definitely check out ABC Book Nook on Instagram. Andrea's posted a lot of great wisdom there, a lot of fun things, and that I know you're going to love. And definitely check out the website, and definitely check out Molly Morningstar, A Doll for Me. Hey, Andrea, let everybody know where they can go on Instagram to find you and where they can go to find out about your book.
They can find me on Instagram at ABC Book Nook, and my website is www.abcbooknook.com, and they can find out all information about Molly Morningstar, A Doll for Me there.
We had a great time speaking with the author of Molly Morningstar, A Doll for Me, Andrea Coke. Andrea, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jedley. I'm so happy that I was here. Thank you so much.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Dr. William Hasseltine. He's amazing. He's had an incredible life journey and is here to celebrate. His latest middle grade novel is called Science as a Superpower. You're going to love meeting Dr. William Hasseltine. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Earlier on, you heard that we announced that Brielle's Birthday Ball by Once Upon a Dance and Stella Mongodi is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. You also learned that Molly Morningstar, A Doll for Me by Andrea Coke, is also a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. And you might be scratching your head saying, what's this certified great read thing? Well, if our panel of teachers, parents, and kids believes that a book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. It's a great way for a parent or grandparent to know if a book is worthy of their consideration. You know, there's thousands of books published every single month. I'm not exaggerating. That's true. Thousands of books published every single month. It's really hard for a parent walking into a bookstore, other than the cool cover art, to decide, is this a book that I want to invest in? It's also really hard for an author to get their books noticed, to get their books to stand out from the crowd of books that are published every single month. The Certified Great Read program is a great service for parents and for authors. And if you are an author looking to really help your book stand out, you want to check out our Certified Great Read program. You can find out all about it by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. Scroll on down to Certified Great Read. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, want to start by thanking our guest, Andrea Coke. Be sure to check out Molly Morningstar, A Doll for Me, a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Also want to thank my team, Alejandra Doherty, Fatima Khan, Helen Frazier, Justina Thompson. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.